dive right in here. So what you see here basically is the Las Chispas area, and the white speck that you saw in the center of the photo where they dumps the tailings of the Las Chispas, the old Las Chispas mine. Again, I'm going to make forward-looking statements, so come and see me at the table, but expect some forward-looking statements. This is our disclaimer. As Eric just mentioned, here you see, I guess, three key guys of the management team: Eric Fear, Barney Magnuson, and Scott Drever, who moved from a CEO position solely to a director position when we did the merger and when we started out with a spin-out company. And then we have an exceptional board that has been very successful in the mining industry and financing and so on. And you can see that we basically, the whole team moved over to the new company, and that's important, and we like to do it again and bring success and value to our shareholders. Corporate structure, now please do not be afraid of that chart. It has gone up exponentially, but although we would like to take credit for that, we all know that this was based on the market, how gold and silver has performed, unexpectedly so, over the last 2-3 months. Tight share structure, and as Eric mentioned earlier, when we did the transaction with First Majestic, it came with $5.25 million cash. We did a small raise back in November. It was a non-brokered, basically just the purpose of that raise, and we raised $2.5 million extra dollars, was to get management and board situated in a new company. So we have good skin in the game, 14%. You want to see that management owns a good chunk of their own company, so that when they make decisions, it's not on a business level only, but also when they look at it as an investor. And then we have institutional holdings of about 16%. Sprott and AGF were large supporters in the old SilverCrest, and they took part of the financing back in November. So we're sitting in there roughly and approximately at 16%. So market cap is about $45 million now. We closed at $1.12 on Friday. So it has seen some correction, has come off, which is, I guess, it's a healthy thing to look at and to see. Cash on hand, still $6 million. So we like to call ourselves a junior rich exploration company. Okay, here's the location where we are. You can see in the bottom the Santa Elena mine. So that was the mine that we have put in successfully and operated for 4 years. The Las Chispas is the main focus right now. That is about 25 kilometers north of the old Santa Elena mine. You can get there on a highway, and then you turn right, and you get on a dirt road for another 7 kilometers, and you're at the project. We also about 35 kilometers as the crow flies away from the Mercedes mine, which is being operated by Yamana Gold. The other projects here in yellow, for example, Cruz de Mayo was our listing project. So when you get listed on Adventure, you need a 43-101 compliant resource, and Cruz de Mayo has such a resource of about 6 million silver equivalent ounces. But at a current $17 silver price, it's not economic. So we need to see silver to go up to about $25, $30 before we can actually put further effort and money and time on Cruz de Mayo. Wasabas on the bottom right is one of the projects that we did drill to kill. So we went out there with the intention to drill it, and if we come up with some favorable results, we would continue our efforts, time, and money there, but we didn't. It's a very large system, I got to tell you, at low grades though. So that's something that we put on the shelf for the future to look at. And Angel de Plata was one of the very first projects that SilverCrest Mines had in their portfolio. But again, main focus and time is spent on Las Chispas. Okay, Las Chispas area. So what we're looking at here are two targets. The one is called the Las Chispas target. The other one is called the Sonora target. And historical documents tell us that there are about 14 veins known to exist at Las Chispas and about 5 veins at Sonora. So that's a total of 19, and we know that out of those 19, only 5 veins have been mined, okay? And so that tells us there's good exploration potential, there's good potential for hopefully further discoveries. And our focus right now is on the Las Chispas target area. And we are focusing on about 3 veins right now where we have started an aggressive underground channel sampling program. On the bottom right, it's a small insert of the mine that was existing there. And it actually eventually burned down, I think, in the 1920s. And that's when these guys started hand mining high-grade ore out of the Las Chispas mine and took it over the mountain ridge to a nearby smelter. Just to give you the idea of as I was saying, we're concentrating on 3 veins, really. Las Chispas, the Wilhelm Tell vein, and another vein, the Sonora vein, that is surrounding these 2. And that's the second news release that we have put out. We were very encouraged about that because we have seen some continuity on the grades that we received from all the underground sampling that we did. So for example here, that gave us an average of 1.1 meters of 2.5 grams per ton gold and about 175 grams per ton silver. And that was a 360 grams per ton silver equivalent. Now, for this to be economic, we said to ourselves that our cutoff should be about 150 grams per ton silver equivalent. So we're seeing some continuous grades, which is very important, which you need to see for a project to become economic. And here is why I think SilverCrest has still a lot of upside regarding the chart that we have seen earlier. And that's the jewel. That's an old long section that we have been able to get our hands on from, I think it was an old geologist that lives in Tucson, and his wife started to throw out old maps and plans out of the basement, and he got all frantic and said, "What are you doing? You cannot throw this out." And we had a chance to connect with this fella, and he gave us this old long section. So that's from the 1920, 1930 that his father owned. And what you see here, so basically understand this, that the dark spots, those are the developed stopes. Those are the areas that they mined. And we have started in the beginning of this year a very aggressive rehabilitation program to open up the underground again, start out basically putting safety measures in there, build bridges, small bridges, wooden bridges, build a ladder system. So we have hired a welder to put up weld us some ladders so we can access multiple levels. As you can see, it has numerous drifts to get access to. And what you can see is about 6 kilometers of underground workings. And so far, SilverCrest has only accessed 2 kilometers of that, okay? And there's where the arrow points to currently accessing, that was a historic moment. I was just on the site about 2 weeks ago with Eric Fear, and historic because we put up a ladder system. I'll show you a photo coming up here, and that was we were able to access the 400 level. And nobody has been up there in 90 years, and we were able to take our first sample, and Eric got, all excited like a little boy in a toy shop because, you can see on the ceiling, and it was all mineralized. It was argentite, which is, a good host for gold and silver. And the other things that you want to look at here is the red dots. So we have, congruent to our rehab and mapping and sampling program underground, also started a surface drill program. And the plan is to drill about 3,000 plus meters from surface. And these red dots are the pierce points where we have intercepted the Las Chispas vein. We have completed about 10 to 11 holes. And that's about 2,700 meters. 3 holes intercepted the Wilhelm Tell vein. I'll show you a long section coming up, a 3D image rather, that we can see where they have been intercepted that vein. So understand this, this target has never been drilled, ever. So we are the first one out there drilling it from the surface currently. And we have also submitted a permit for underground drilling. That usually takes in Mexico 2 to 3 months. That permit will also include a 100,000-ton bulk sample. So we will be able, most likely in 2017, to extract about 100,000 tons from the material that was mined back between 1880 and 1930. and they mined about 100 million ounces of silver and 200,000 ounces of gold. The average grade of that material was 15 grams per ton gold and 1,700 grams per ton silver. So fairly high grade. We don't hope to or expect to see those kind of grades, but give us 50% of that. I think that's a pretty good grade to receive. Again, I was just mentioning that. So that's a 3D model. So you can see, 3D never really comes out great on print, but these two veins about 120 meters apart. And again, there's 14, especially at the Las Chispas. We only have access and started sampling from the underground on 2 veins here. Bottom right is an insert. That's the latest news release. So the Wilhelm Tell vein has a strike length of about 1 kilometer, and we have only sampled from 75 meters. So there's thousands of samples to come forth still from that underground program. Again, here you go. It's just a few images of our current drill program. You can see Eric reviewing some of the core that came straight out of the barrel from the drill. And we were able to rent some housing from a local rancher very close by to the drill location right now. And when we were down there a couple of weeks ago, we saw actually a lot of stockwork and veining in the core, and that's very important. That tells you that usually in an epithermal system, which this is, that it's mineralized, but we don't know what the assays are. We expect to see initial assays coming forth probably in June. I probably would peg it around late June, okay? Look for that in a news release. And here's the underground. And so, as I was telling you, we just put in some wooden bridges to just gap some cave-ins. And then there's this 50-meter ladder. Eric had me crawl up there. And I said, what? You want me to go up there? I couldn't even see the top of that thing. So, yeah, we're going up there. It's history. Okay, all right. So everybody went up there. And like I said, on the very right, Eric taking the first sample in 90 years from the 400 level, so quite exciting. But then they never told me going down is even worse, so I was holding on to that ladder for my dear life, but it was exciting, let me tell you that, okay? Okay, why SilverCrest? So expect good news flow in the next 6 months. The sampling, because we're taking so many samples, we should have, I hope every 5 weeks, an update out with more results. Again, initial drill results from the surface program will be probably in June, late June. Then we'll probably start an underground program in the fall. Our very ambitious objective is to have our first resource out by the end of the year. So look for that. If we can come up with that, that would be fantastic. And again, see me at the table. I'm in the back here all day. Would love to talk to you to get into more details. Thank you for your time.